Okie dokie. Sorry about that slight delay. Was a bit late getting started, even with the delay I made. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome to the open mic. Today we'll be talking about Warhammer 40k, specifically 10th edition announcement and the Lion's Return. There's going to be a bit of a lore-centric focus with that, though I do have comments to make about some of the pitches they've had about 10th edition. I'm definitely a bit nervous about some things. I'm very frustrated about one particular thing. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that in due course. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody who's here in the chat. Welcome Noah. Noah was here earlier. I don't know if he's here right now, but welcome. And to everybody else just kind of seeping in. But yes, this is going to be an interesting topic. And I'm actually excited for the conversations that are going to occur. So, of course, though, if you would like to participate in those conversations, please check out in the description, and I will link it in the chat momentarily here. 1 second. But please check out the voice call Discord lines. Keep in mind that's not the community. It's not a community Discord. It's solely for these open mics. I do have a community. I have 2 community Discords, one for my gaming channel and one for my just friend group, and also my patrons, which is over there. Now, welcome Deus Daddy, Mr. Bones. Welcome, guys. We here. Woo! Yeah, woo indeed. Reporting from the Free Worlds League borders. So tell me, what in the cinnamon toast fuck should we even care about, or more aptly be worried about? Well, we will certainly get into that. Now, before we do much too much further, let me share the link to the call line Discord. That way you guys have it right in chat, so you don't have to go down to the description. But, of course, the link will be in the description throughout the entirety of the stream. There we go. There's the link. Pop it in 3 times. Feel free to click on it, and it'll bring you right to the voice call Discord. And remember, wait in rooms 1, 2, and 3. I'll pull you in. General waiting room is is like if you're waiting and the other 3 sections are filled. So I already have someone waiting, but before we get into actual calls, because before I do want to give my thoughts briefly. This is mostly about a discussion, hence the title, Open Mic. That is the primary goal of these streams, is to have that conversation. But to have that conversation is probably good to just get my thoughts out there real quick. So my general opinions, and we'll get into detail ones as we go through conversation, but my general opinions about 10th edition are that I'm worried. I'm extremely worried because the first thing that they said in the Adepticon preview was that their goal is to further simplify 40k, which I absolutely fucking hate. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I am very miffed that is their goal, because in my opinion, 9th edition already did that. Actually, 9th edition overcomplicated the game in some ways, whereas before for example, a lot of the command point focus in 9th edition, with a lot of things that used to just be racial traits. For example, orcs. Used to be that you rolled a 6, and you could fire again with whatever you rolled a 6 on. 6s were always rolling 6s. Your shooting sucked baseline, but you could roll into it to get something better. And if you were, luck was the name of the game with orcs. Now, it's not how it works. The Daka rule set is now a command point charge. So you have to pay command points to use what was initially just a general trait that the faction had. So where they overcomplicated the game with that is adding a lot of those things that used to just be kind of side faction rules into command points, so you had to constantly spend those, and it was very frustrating as all hell. But whereas they oversimplified the game was in a lot of the stat features and a lot of the actual tournament rules. One of the things that annoyed me most is the entire game of 40k, at tournaments anyway, became 100% about control points. Instead of games of domination where you would be your army versus the other army, and the person won that game by kicking the other team's ass. If you guys were still going by the end of a given timer or a round limit, whoever had the most models left on the board won. Or if you tabled the other army, you won that way as well. Now, of course, objective secure and objective control has always been, at least as far as I've been playing the game, has always been a part of the game. That's always been at tournaments. That's always been a thing. But my issue, going back to the 10th edition, was, and is, they have now taken what was a trait, objective secure, they've removed it, and now they've had added to the core stats of units, they have now added a control point stat. So that told me as soon as I saw that, and I want to jump out the fucking window, by the way, that now, instead of diversifying, because my biggest problem with 9th is tournaments were just objective control. That's it. There's no other game fucking modes. Unless you had a custom tournament with your friends. If you did a GW official one from the booklet, point control. That's all it was about. Every secondary was about that. Every primary objective in tournaments, control point, control point, control point, control point, control point, control point. No domination games, no King of the Hill games, nothing. Just fucking control points. I hate that, especially as an orc player with an army that's not designed to stand still and raise the banners high on objectives, where I'm getting shot at from armies across the board while I waste time doing that, getting fucking tabled. It's infuriating. So for me, I was hoping 10th edition would come with a step away from that, where they would start diversifying. And what they have told me, just by the virtue of putting objective control stats, is not only are they doing it more, they're quadrupling down on it. Which means we're going to see nothing but it again. So that means 10th edition is going to be 9th edition, but more simplified. Which I'm still worried exactly how they're going to do that. If they're going to simplify it, I hope they do it via the control point, like, bullshit. Take all of those abilities and trim the fat. Like, make DACA, for example. Make that a racial trait again. Just make it so if you're playing orcs, you roll 6s, they roll. Boom, you can shoot again with that weapon. Just do that again. Why is so many of those things that used to just be, again, a racial trait or ability, control points? So if they choose to trim the fat in that regard, awesome. If they're trimming the fat on simplifying the actual core rules or the actual data sheets of individual units and models, which is what I fear they might also be doing, I'm worried. I'm worried how much, because the thing is, if they're going to keep obsessing about simplifying the game so it's more accessible, then at what point are we just going to be playing chess with fancier looking and more expensive models? I'm just worried that that's where we're headed, is just the continued obsession about simplification. And I also find it funny that that's how GW has decided to fix the bleeding player base. Instead of lowering the price of your fucking models so more people can actually get into the game, you're instead going, it's not the price. It's clearly the complicated rules. Kiss my ass. So that's my thoughts on, and there probably is more news and more explanations that I missed outside of the Adepticon preview that I haven't checked out yet. So that's part of why I'm also eager to have calls in, is also hear what you guys have heard or seen that I might not have, that might alleviate my concerns or might add to them. We'll see. But that aside, the rule base aside, my potential worries with 10th edition as on the tabletop aside, I'm also extremely concerned with how we're going to implement the Lion, lore-wise. Now, they have explained some details about it, mostly around, his waking up and why he looks so fucking old. I personally not sure. I'm still, this is still my thing. We know Space Marines can age, but the only one that has shown his age to an excessive degree was, if I recall correctly, I can't remember the name of the character, but he got aged up artificially with, like, Xenos magic or something. And I think they fast-forwarded his, like, physical age, like, thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And only then did he start showing his age. So my thing is Space Marines are supposed to be watered-down Primarchs, effectively. Like, they're even further sifted through. Like, the Primarchs are slightly watered down from the Emperor, and the Space Marines themselves are watered down from them. So I have a huge... Dantiok was super aged by Haru. Thank you, Dantiok. So if it takes that much for a Space Marine to show their age, you're telling me in a mere 1,000 years that a Primarch went from looking like Chris Hemsworth to Tywin Lannister. Or that other dude from Game of Thrones, the Onion Knight, I think they called him, or whatever. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the excuse. Oh, he wasn't in stasis, but he went from looking 20 or 30 at oldest to fucking 70. And normal Space Marines thought to be immortal after hundreds of years of service don't look any older than 20. And again, they're watered down Primarchs, so by all accounts, they should show their age faster than Primarchs. You're telling me a Primarch was in stasis for, and I do mean this when I say this, a mere 1,000 years, and he looks that much older? That tells me that their lifespan isn't more than 2,000 years old. Which, a lot of people are hearing those numbers and going, wow, that's still a lot. No, it's not. Like, the Emperor was supposedly alive from the dawn of humanity. He was around for tens of thousands of years. And didn't age hardly at all based on all the depictions of him. Granted, there's still an argument to be had that there was psychic stuff involved in that with keeping him looking young. But the Primarchs are only supposed to be a slight distillation of him. So, to find out that they apparently only have a physical lifespan of, give or take, 2,000, 3,000 years, compared to the tens and tens of thousands of years the Emperor lived without showing his age, I'm sorry, I question that. I call bullshit. I don't think that's a good excuse. Oh, he wasn't in stasis, so that's why he aged so much. No, in my opinion, yeah, age him a little, but he shouldn't look as old as he does. Like, he looks like he's, like, looking at retirement in a couple of years. He looks like a character that, you know, might be in the middle of a war going, I'm too old for this. Like, that's how he looks. For only 1,000 years of stasis. Again, I call bullshit. Unreliable narrator. Shut up. Like, oh my god. So, but that aside, that for me, a source of frustration aside, I like the model. Like, you know, separating from the lore a little bit, I do like the model. I've heard some people say they really don't like it, or they don't like the details on it, or some people have said it looks too basic. For me, I think it looks detailed enough. It's not so detailed that you can't really customize it at all, and it's not too little detailed that it could just be generic Primarch B. It's unique enough, and I like the helmets. I like the variations on the helmets you can put on. I've already commented about that in the Adepticon stream. I like how it looks. That's to me. But the actual lore of it I'm concerned about, because we really, like, when we actually get the first official fucking autofocus, we actually get the camera. Hello. God damn it. I hate that autofocus always turns on whenever I turn on OBS. Anyway, sorry about that. But I'm concerned with how they're actually going to implement the lion into the lore proper. I'm already, like, they're already hitting off on the wrong cylinders for me because he's so old, and for me that goes against established lore. To me, it goes against established lore. To be fair, I don't think there's anything that they've ever explicitly said that the Primarchs don't age. And we have evidence to the fact that Space Marines definitely age. But, again, a Space Marine took, like, magic, crude powers. Dantiok had to be artificially aged a shit ton to show his age. So if it takes all that to get a Space Marine to look old, you're telling me a Primarch, after only 1,000 years asleep, is aged that much? I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I feel like they wanted him to look older for whatever reason, So they just said, yeah, 1,000 years, that's enough for him to age a lot, right? But it just, again, it goes against the very establishment for me of how immortal-esque these characters are supposed to be. So that's for me. So anyway, we don't actually have the lore yet. We don't have the books in front of us of them having the lion interacting with other characters, him going up against Angron and the World Eaters. I know that he's not going. Him and the Dark Angels aren't working alongside the Indominus Crusade, which is apparently still going on. There's been a lot of explanation. There's this new Tyrannid focus as well. There's stuff. There's a lot of evolutions that they've just kind of thrown out there. But until we actually get the books in front of us, we don't know how well they're going to handle his return. I definitely want him, if they make it out to be that he's just so happy to be awake and he's like totally faithful and believes in Guilliman, I'm going to be so pissed. Like, if they try and do that happy-go-lucky bullshit where he's happy with Guilliman, first of all, they didn't get along back when the Imperium was at its peak. Second of all, I don't see the Lion whatsoever approving of everything that Guilliman pulled and has been pulling. And also, the state of the Imperium is very much Guilliman's fault. So, I want them to have that kind of intrigue going on between the Lion and Guilliman. But if they don't handle that correctly and they just have him be, like, if they have him only, like, focus on fighting external threats and he has no internal strife, I'm sorry, that's not the Lion. The Lion's a petty fucking character. And don't tell me being asleep for 1,000 years was enough to chill him out. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I don't buy that at all, and I hope they don't go that route. But if they do, I'm prepared for them to be that lazy with the writing. Now, that's kind of my general thoughts. I'm concerned about 10th edition from a tabletop rule set perspective. I'm pissed that they're definitely quadrupling down on Objective Secure being the only goddamn mode that they even bother making rules for, especially for tournaments. And I'm worried about how they're going to implement the Lion, and they've already made a mistake, in my opinion, by making him look so much older. I like the model, the artwork, the design, all that's been done well, but the actual substance of it is what I'm concerned about, is like the best general way to say it. If I had to give a general prediction, I think they're going to fuck up a lot with 10th edition. That's just based on my experience with GW, and that's based on their track record. Alright, so that's my thoughts. That's my general opinions. So let's actually open up to calls. But before we do calls, allow me to do this first. You. Yes, you. Do you like tabletop war games?
How did you get in my house?
Answer the question!
Yes!
And do you like grimdark sci-fi universes with sprawling lore?
Yeah?
Brilliant! Then please consider supporting the development of such a game called Warglaive Gothic, a grimdark sci-fi universe with Viking werewolves, vampires, driders, and grape-happy cannibalistic gnolls, all in space! Link to the Patreon page down below.
Is this an ad?
Yes! Sorry about that. I'm going to play that a couple more times throughout the stream. I say a couple more, probably only one more time in the stream. But yeah, please consider checking out the Patreon and supporting Warglaive Gothic, the tabletop grimdark sci-fi universe I am developing. And yes, it is a universe with lore. It's not just a custom fan-made rule set for 40k. It is my own tabletop wargame and setting. I hope to expand it out into a lot of different medias. Right now, I'm working on a comic for it. I'm working on a novel, one of the first novels for it. And I've got the general lore basis out. I have a lore Bible going. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff going into that. So if you're interested in helping out a small-time guy trying to develop his own game that hopefully one day you guys will have access to, right now, I'm making 3D models as well for STLs. There's 2 of them available on the Patreon for $5 or more patrons. And I hope to, every month, have at least 1 to 2 miniature sets put on the Patreon additionally. That's the hope. That's with the workload I have in front of me, and that's factoring in, working a day job and also working on this stuff on the side. So yes, consider checking that out. Consider supporting me. and my entrepreneurial, I think that's the word, endeavors. Anyway, that aside, let's open to open mic. All right, Spiffier Mage, welcome. How you doing?
Hey, how you keeping?
Uh,
Pleasure to be speaking with you for the first time.
Oh, pleasure to be speaking with you as well.
Oh god, there's a video audio.
Yeah. There's a bit of a delay for the stream. YouTube has like a 30-second delay by native.
It sounds like it's only like 3 seconds, but yeah. So how you keeping?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Chilling out mostly. Spending most of my day right now working on Warglaive and or trying to get a new day job, which I have one lined up. But how about you?
I'm alright. So, as far as 10th edition goes,
Oh, hold on, they can't hear you. Let me see why that is.
oh,
All right, try speaking now.
hello, testing, 1, 2, 3.
There we go. Okay, so it was an output setting. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
There. So about 10th edition. So from what I've seen in all of the Warhammer community articles, there's meant to be universal special rules coming back, which would be a godsend at the very least. Because yeah, so that's at least something good, because
That
just
is actually very good news.
8th and
yeah.
9th edition just completely dropped the ball with making the same version of the rule over and over again, and even in the articles it just mentioned how people would just refer to the rules by their old name.
Oh yeah. And when you have so many editions where people are used to referring to something, trying to tell them to do it differently, all of a sudden for this latest edition or the latest edition, that always is annoying, to say the least.
Also the ability to just simply pull the same list of rules, just in different combinations from one main source is, would you believe it, streamlined and simple.
What do you know?
Yeah, and I'm hoping to God that something good comes out of 10th edition, because I just could not play 8th or 9th edition. And yeah, so my friend group have hit me with the do not like current thing. Fuck you.
Yeah, I was able to actually play 9th edition and enjoy it, but that was in spite of the rule sets and in spite of the current outline of the game. I've already voiced, and I assume you heard me, was my frustration with objective control being like the only game mode in every goddamn tournament. If you go by GW's official booklets, I mean, everything is about securing objectives, and the secondaries are all around that. I've been hating that in terms of the actual tournament. And to be fair, they had that game mode very much in 8th edition and 7th edition, but I remember there actually being mixed in like tournaments of just domination, where it was your army versus the other army, and the goal of that game was just who had the most minis standing at the end. You had a round limit, or you had a time limit to do everything, and those were a lot more fun for me, especially as an orc player. I hate objective control so much being the focus, and as it was, I wasn't a fan of objective secure being a stat on a lot of the models. Like, for example, if I run Death Skulls, all infantry or baseline orcs have objective secure, and I had to keep track of that and memorize that. Like, okay, that if I run Death Skulls, that's what I have, but if I run this, I don't have that. These units have objective secure, these ones don't.
Yeah.
And I also had to double check a couple people I played at tournaments, like, hey, does that unit have objective secure? It's annoying for me again, I like domination. I like those kinds of games. So with 10th edition now changing that for a stat, you would think that would make someone like me happy, but for me, it's just they've made it clear that they're still only focusing on objective control based tournaments and games.
Yeah, I know.
Which I hate. They can't seem to diversify in that regard. And I remember in 7th edition, which is my favorite edition, in 7th edition, I remember many official tournaments that were run by GW rules and booklets that had other game modes. Like, there were domination tournaments. There was King of the Hill tournaments. There was... Well, King of the Hill is pretty much the same thing as Objective Secure, except it's just one objective in the center of the board. But still, there was more to do in 7th. And it's just 8th and 9th. Less so 8th, but mostly 9th is just that. So, yeah.
So, I have 4 points I want to hit while I'm on this call, in case you're stuck for time.
Yeah, go ahead.
The first is, as far as the data sheets for the different units, I'm actually not put off by having an objective control value on it, just so that you can be able to say who has the highest number. That one, okay, it doesn't matter how big the pile in, that one gets it. So that does seem like that would at least work a bit more streamlined instead of arguing as to who has what objective secured rule and how many units are on it.
Yeah, I can see that. Again, my concern isn't... I agree that it is an objective improvement over the objective secure trait that some units would have. I do agree that having like a numerical, like, hey, my number is bigger than yours, I win. I do agree that's better. Like I said, my only concern is just it shows to me that they're... Because they've moved it to a core stat, that's their focus is on that mode. But yeah, I agree it is a objectively better move to have a number.
Yeah. The weapons being laid out the way they are, that does feel a lot more Age of Sigmar, which I'm not sure how to feel about that. It's weird looking at it, but Age of Sigmar managed to make the streamlining that GW want to make 40k go through actually work. They just haven't figured out how to port it over properly yet. Because 8th and 9th edition were atrocious.
Yeah, they were. I can't comment too much about like whether or not it worked for Age of Sigmar. I'll take your word for it if you've played both. I've only played one game of Age of Sigmar on Tabletop Simulator. I didn't enjoy it, but that might be more because it was Tabletop Simulator and
Tabletop Simulator will just naturally make any game you're playing worse. But like, how else are you going to play with people during lockdown and whatnot?
Yeah.
The AP, though, seems to has me a bit off-put because they wanted to tone down the AP to make the game less killy than it was in 9th Ed, where they went completely off the fucking rails. To the point where, like, even looking at the Terminator data card now, like, the highest AP they have is -2 on Power Fist and Chain Fist, which are really weird.
Yeah, that is very weird. I don't know. I'm definitely mixed on that one because in my games of 9th that I remember playing, I actually liked the high kill count, but that's because I played a horror army, orcs, and you know I bring a green tide, like I bring a wave of infantry, so having them kind of get picked off as they bum rush the enemy is kind of a cool feeling because it feels a lot more impactful. But at the same time, that explanation is like, oh, we want to make the game less killy, so your units... I don't know how I feel about that. That being the reason, anyway.
Well, my last game of 9th Ed, to show how goddamn killy it was, I was in a tournament against the newly released Tau Codex, playing an entirely Firstborn army, because fuck your Primaris. They should not exist. Fight me.
I don't disagree with you.
So... what happened was, at the start of my turn 2, out of a 1,500 point army, the only ones who were safe were a Terminator Assault Squad and a Terminator Captain in Deep Strike, but all I had left on my board was a single Terminator Librarian and a single Tactical Marine with a Plasma Gun who somehow survived and passed a morale check.
Wow.
Start of my turn 2.
Okay.
Those were not bad rolls on my part.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Holy shit. Really? That's all you had left?
Yeah, that's all I had left against Tau.
Fucking Tau. I hate
so,
Tau. But yeah, I see your point there.
Yeah. Another thing is, I was actually, like, for 8th and 9th edition, as far as how it's meant to be, like, simplified and made for new players, I actually started playing Warhammer Christmas of 2018, so that was when 8th edition was like full in swing.
Yeah.
And I started with Marines, and the best way I can describe it is the first ever Marines I bought were from the Dark Imperium box set. The first ever Space Marines I drew was a Primaris Marine. I got in the swing of it in the middle of 8th Ed. And all it took was my friend group playing 7th edition when I got in there, and suddenly I became a 7th edition purist. Fuck 8th edition, fuck Primaris, the lore is broken, why?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that just goes to show how well they did it. If someone who was completely green could just be shown what the alternative is and immediately hate the new stuff.
Oh yeah. The thing is, I started in 7th. I started at the end of 6, I believe. That or it was in the middle of 7th, but in 7th or early to mid 7th edition was when I joined. 2013. Yeah, I was 13 when I got into the hobby. Via a friend of mine. First army was Orcs, still my main army to this day. I still actually have minis from one of the first minis I ever got gifted from him. I stripped it and painted it myself though, so I just know that it's the mini he gave me. But that's when I started, and I remember how much fun 7th was to play with my buddy. And I didn't actually do any tournaments until recently. My very first tournament was in 9th, so the competitive scene is new to me. So I can't comment how that's changed over the years, but I've been playing the game and been collecting since 7th edition. And I remember, as far as I remember, just playing casual games with my friends or playing games at hobby shops, and it was always far more fun. Again, with just the core example I always go back to. It might be boring to constantly hear it, but it's my main one. Just Daka being a racial trait of orcs. You would roll those 6s, exploding 6s. You get to shoot with whatever gun it was. There was no command point bullshit with that. Also, the lore, you're right, it was way better in 7th at the time. There was still issues. There's always been holes and issues with 40k lore.
Oh yeah,
that was before though that they really started ramping up the bullshit with Primaris, with Gilliman coming back. It was a better time for the game in all senses.
Yeah. So as far as, Primaris coming back goes, I'm liking the design for the Lion, even though it's weird that he aged up. However, he now looks like Tchaikovsky, and in a way I absolutely adore that.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. But as far as how he looks goes, his armor isn't as ostentatious as Gilliman's, and that is a good thing, because he looks more like a medieval plate-mailed knight, like the 30k Dark Angels looked. So, and especially when Gilliman was released, one of my friends, I'm not even kidding, when he first saw that before he realized, oh wait, I'm looking at the color blue, he thought, oh, they did a Lorgar model.
He thought it was the Lorgar model?
Yeah, because of how gold and ostentatious it was, his immediate thought was, "Oh, Lorgar."
It's too
before
spiffing.
He got. Yes, so it just goes to show that Gilliman was over-designed in his armor and it did not work out well.
Oh yeah,
Whereas the line now is the right amount of simple.
Yeah, like I said, he's the right amount. He's got enough detail for you to paint and do unique details on, but he's not so over detailed that you can't customize it or do something different with his model, like Kit Bash.
He doesn't look too busy either.
Yeah, that's what I like, and it fits more of a Space Marine. Even if there are a Primarch, it still fits a more of a Space Marine daddy aesthetic.
Yeah, again, he looks like a natural knighted warrior.
Yeah, and maybe that's why they aged him up. It really comes down to, and that could be explained for a lot of things with GW, but it really comes down to just what they think is most aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
And they thought he would look better as an older kind of dude.
Yeah. Again, he looks like Tchaikovsky with that new look, and it's fantastic. Even if it's weird how it came about.
Yeah.
As for how he's going to be handled, I'm not too optimistic because of even in the fucking 10th Ed trailer where Gilliman is saying everything's fucked, oh god. That's just not really the case.
I actually have a question, and I'm probably going to ask every caller this, but I'm going to throw this question your way first. It's your first caller. When I watched that trailer, actually it's kind of 2 to 3 questions. I'll zip through them though. First question, didn't you think that it was weird that, especially after announcing the Lion, and having that big reveal that the animated trailer was still Ultramarines and Gilliman.
Yeah, but that's because it's GW.
Yeah.
They're the poster boys. They're always going to be put on everything.
Yeah, but it's just they had such an opportunity to go with a different poster. Like they still do Space Marines, but they could have done anybody else. And the community has been so vocal. And to be fair, they've always been vocal since the Ultramarines have been constantly used in every single advertisement ever.
Yeah.
To diversify.
They've been used even. Yeah, they've been used even more than the Dark Angels, and they used to be the old poster boys back then.
Yeah, and this could have been an opportunity to do Dark Angels, or they could have done a different one and still had Gilliman voiceover stuff. But
it would be even better if they got the line to voice over it. Him waking up, going, "So this is the state of the Imperium."
That would have been way better. Back? Yeah, it would have been way better. But nah, they went Ultramarines again. Second question about the trailer, though. Didn't you think, like, model and design-wise, everything looked a little bit cartoony? Like, more rounded out than 9th edition trailer even was.
Yes, it did. I noticed that especially when the Terminator librarian showed up. Because otherwise it looked fine, but as soon as he came up, it was just... Everything is very soft-edged.
Yeah, that weirded me out a lot, especially when I went back and after the stream of watching the trailer stream in the reveal, I went and watched the 9th edition trailer again. It's nowhere near that rounded out. Like, it looks way better and it actually looks more closer to the feel, vibe, and design we saw in the Space Marine video game, is the 9th edition designs.
Oh, that thing broke my heart. Yeah. They massacred my boy Titus.
Yeah, I'm actually worried about Space Marine 2, the writing of that game. I'm hoping it'll escape any kind of fuckery, but...
Just whenever I even voice any complaint in my friend group, one thing that happens a lot is they tell me to just get over it for the sake of the hobby, because while I love my friends, they are also the kind of people who look at the "you will not be missed" sign and go, "That was a good thing." So yeah, I love them, but I wish they were a bit smarter about what's going on.
Yeah. I can't blame someone being too casual, though, I guess.
Yeah, especially when one of them pulls veterancy on me because he was in this since the end of 4th edition. But yeah, how the line coming into the lore will be very weird, and I don't think they'll do it right because the Lion already is very confrontational with Gilliman, especially after Imperium Secundus. So him waking up to see Gilliman now in charge of the entire Imperium, how's that going to be resolved? Yeah, and on top of that, the Lion would take one look at the Ecclesiarchy and go, "Not on my fucking watch."
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be something that they're going to have to try and find a way to work around.
Yeah, and the thing is, again, like there's stuff that with the Ecclesiarchy and the High Lords of Terra. There's a lot of stuff that the Lion will have to have some kind of reaction to. If they make it too mild or just go, "Oh, he's just harumph about it," I'm gonna be so pissed. I'm gonna be so pissed.
Yeah, because remember, the Lion is meant to be the fucking wild man hiding behind a civilized face.
Oh yeah, and he's also petty as shit.
Yeah, like, again, like, fucking, he kills some of his own legionnaires for doing their job while he's in a bad mood, like Nemiel.
I mean, Purdy does that way more, but yeah.
Yeah. That's not saying he doesn't, that's just, Purdy is a whole different fucking kettle of fish.
Yeah, Purdy will, like, massacre an entire squad to multiple just because he wasn't given an opportunity from the Emperor. So, much worse.
He frequently promotes his Marines to Dreadnought.
Oh, yeah. So is there anything else you wanted to bring up? Because I think I went through my questions.
No, I'd just be bitching about how the Imperium is doing fucking fantastic, largely in part to the Warp Squirrel call. And it's weird that they said in like the articles that Terminator armor was the only thing Call couldn't improve upon,
Really?
which is really weird. Yeah, they actually did that. I don't know why they specified that's the only thing he couldn't improve on, because, he was able to do just about everything else.
I hate that Mary Sue fucking douchebag. I really hate Call.
Oh, if I had the fucking reins of the lore, I'd make it so that his magnum opus was being able to revive Gilliman with his fucking magic suit in the first place, without the need of the Eldar working with the Order of the Bloody Rose and the Black Templars, without getting fucking massacred. And then have Gilliman go, okay, I'm awake, I'm alive, you were awake in 30k and revived me. I'm giving you a sanction to start basically reworking all this old 30k tech. Get to it. And that be how you get like Mark 10 armor and whatnot, as just him improving and reworking designs.
Yeah, and that would have been a better way to do it. Like, it's just everything that he basically single-handedly accomplished.
There are more Primaris Marines in Stasis than there were Marines in the Horus Heresy.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit. It's complete I'm gonna rant. I have to stop myself. I'm gonna rant.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you so much for going on, man. Is there any other last statements you want to make, or?
No, I think it's good now for you to start firing off your questions.
All right. I already asked my core ones to you, I think, throughout that convo. I don't think I missed any. Yeah, because you already told me how you felt about the edition, generally speaking. You've went into your lore concerns. I think we went through all like my questions.
All right. In that case, I'll give the floor over to Mr. Bones then.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Much appreciated.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
You as well.
Cheers.
Mr. Bones, Bones. How you doing?
Hello. How do you do, my friend?
I do pretty good. So, what are your thoughts on 10th edition? Lore perspective, tabletop rules perspective. What are we looking at?
Well, I have I suppose I'm gonna have the normie perspective because I'm not super into like the rules part. Like I followed the lore for a while. Man, I've only just started collecting my miniatures, so I've not even played a full like game yet. So
okay, so you're a newbie perspective.
Oh yeah.
It's still good to get. It's still good to get a new person's perspective because you don't have as much to work with.
Yeah, I feel like because when I would go to play, my first game would probably end up being in 10th edition anyways, by the time I get painted and everything. So, I don't know, from what I've seen, I mean, it looks neat. I don't really have much to compare it to, looking through, like, my book and stuff, seeing, like, the data sheets for my units, some of it's a bit confusing, because I just don't really know what the hell I'm looking at. And so, like, seeing the new data cards that they've put out on the community stuff, the post they put out, I mean, to me, it's like, oh, hey, I for some extent, I understand what the hell I'm looking at, but that's because, like I said, I have no reference. I don't know. I don't even know what the hell, like, a 6th or 7th edition data sheet looked like. So, yeah, I got no idea.
Yeah. I don't know if I can... I could break down for you the major changes and differences, but I don't know if that would be so for what I mean to say is, like, for me, like, seeing the simplified down version of things where it's just there's no extras, like seeing the new Terminator data cards, it's like, oh, I mean, I get what all these things do. And they've explained some of the rules, like when it's got like Demon's Bane on it and shit like that. I'm like, hey, I mean, I can understand that. Because I don't even have like the core rules in front of me, so some of the stuff that I'm looking at, I can't even find in the book that I have, which that's a whole different fucking can of worms. This like needing 17 books to play the game. I mean, come on, man. You gotta be shitting me with that. Yeah, and to be honest, like, one of the things they could have done to quote unquote simplify the game is just put up the codexes and stuff for free online, And they still could produce books and codexes, like physical copies for people to buy, because there are people who like to collect that stuff. People like filling up a bookshelf with stuff. And it's not like, just putting up the rules in a very bare bones way online. And yeah, I know there's the app that you still have to pay for. But just putting them up in a PDF. It's UW. Putting them up in a PDF form, which fans have done. People have put like the PDFs of like the codexes and stuff online.
I definitely have a totally legal version of the Space Marines Codex on my phone.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
Side eye. I mean, yeah. So just like the rule side of things, you're just your catch of it is it looks understandable and simplified, but you still need to play a game proper to get the full vibe of it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and I know for a fact, like, because I'm watching, just sort of like getting into stuff, looking at like the different channels that cover the rules and stuff. A lot of them talk about some of the overcomplications and some of the bloat that happened in 9th. So, like, I have a skewed perspective because I don't know. I don't know like what happened in the beginning. I know that a lot of the times you get a codex and it lies to you for 90 some odd pages, and then you have to go look at some updated data sheet on the internet somewhere. Yeah. And it's like, I can't even fathom what it's like just taking my book and pretending like I'm going to play the game just totally normal.
It's always fun explaining to a new player how FAQs work.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I can play the game, I got the codex. No, do you have the latest FAQ update for that codex? If not, you're not tournament ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Real quick, I got a super chat. Thank you, Adam Wolfer, for the $10. Very much generous donation. Thank you, much appreciated. So the lion isn't getting elf girlfriend. His brother Guillaume might cause a war between the brothers. John will be crying to Big E. Where my elf GF? That dark grim future. The true grim dark energy of 40k is that the lion does not have big tittied elf GF.
Yeah, the war of the elf GF. Yeah.
Thank you again, Adam, for the super chat, man. Much appreciated. All right, sorry about that. All right,
no, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. So, lore side of things.
Lore side of things. I don't know, man. Like, it's one of those where it's like I don't know how much they could change where people would be happy, and how much they could leave things the same without people asking why the hell did you make a new edition. So like on some parts I kind of understand where things have gone. On some parts I'm like, it is what it is. I think the Primarchs coming back, I mean, it's kind of one of those all or nothing things. Either you start bringing them back or you never brought them back in the first place. And at that point, it'd be kind of weird with like demon Primarchs, like why the hell they never show up? And it's like, oh, because they're warp spaghetti. I don't know, And so I feel like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't on that end.
I don't know if I agree they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. I mean, at this point, there are some things that we're damned with regardless, like Primaris. We're stuck with those very much, unfortunately, in the lore and on the model front. But there are things and narrative decisions they can make that are good and can not necessarily undo those mistakes, but they can overwrite them and very much allow us to refocus on things and narrative plot points that actually make the setting push forward, as opposed to feel like they're lingering and just kind of inventing new stuff. There's existing things in lore that they need and should be resolving and working through, and one of them is bringing the Primarchs back. I'm happy in a broad stroke that the Lion is back. I'm very worried about how they're going to do it. So I don't necessarily agree that they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. They're damned if they don't do it well.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool that they're back. Seeing them all come back. I mean, it's like, hey, I'm even excited for when the Primarchs no one really gives a shit comes back. It's like, oh, hey, cool, new model. But that's a lot of my perspective. It's like new models are cool. I have a single squad of old Marines And then I look at my new Primaris guys, and I'm like, wow, these guys are fucking lame. And I like my Primaris guys. They're bigger, they look cool, they're all, they have a lot more detail in them. But that's just me. I don't have the hangups of when people went from old to Primaris. That it's like the Age of Sigmar stuff. Like I didn't have the hangup of Warhammer Fantasy, so I look at Age of Sigmar, I'm like, oh, cool, neat stuff, and people are like, dude, I can't believe you'd like it. It's dog shit. I'm like, I mean, it's cool to me.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the model front. If we put the lore aside, I do think the Primaris models look better than Firstborn Marines. But the main reason people dislike the model change, and I think a lot of people, they bleed over the hatred for the lore onto the model. They're like, oh, the model, how can you like the model? I think objectively the models actually look better. I don't agree. I do kind of agree with the idea that the pauldrons look a little too uniform. They should look a little bit more puffed up. But outside of that, the Primaris models do look good. But
Right.
a huge reason for the hatred for the models and on the tabletop is because not only did GW release a full line of new models, they have way better data sheet rule. They are. I don't know if you know this. I'd hope so. But the Firstborn Marine models have different rules to the Primaris models.
Right. Yeah. No,
And they have
I know
lower
they're
and weaker
different.
stats.
Right. And like that part I could get.
So,
But and from what I've seen though, this edition it looks. I think it's starting with the Terminator. I mean, I could be totally wrong, and people have speculated on it from the videos I've seen and stuff. But it seems like they're sort of removing all of the Primaris and Firstborn stuff. Like a Space Marine is a Space Marine is a Space Marine. They're all the same. I mean, it is what it is. And that's how I've always felt about it. Anyways, is I don't look at it Primaris and Firstborn. I'm just like new Marines, old Marines. It's all the Marine. They all come on the box blue.
well, that's the first time I've heard that they're bleeding the rules into each other. I did not hear
It's
that.
all I've heard is rumor about that from other YouTubers and stuff. And it's because of the Terminator, because the Terminator doesn't have Firstborn or Primaris on it. And during the whole thing, when they were asked, are these Terminators going to be Firstborn or whatever, they were just like, it can be either. It's a Terminator.
Yeah. And the thing is, if that rumor is true and they are bleeding the stats to the point where there's no difference between a Firstborn and a Primaris, then I think that is an immensely good move, and I think a lot of people would appreciate that. I know I would. But all I was saying about that was, initially, that was where a lot of hatred just for the model front came from, is because their stats were very much clear-cut better than Firstborn. A lot of competitive 40k players felt like they had to completely replace their tens of thousands of dollars worth of investment on paint, on terrain, on models themselves. All of that investment they had put into building their decent to massive sized home armies of Space Marines, they now had to shove out another couple grand to buy Primaris when they first came out, to close the gap and give themselves a competitive Space Marine army, where they lost that when they were just kind of dropped in. So that's where that hatred came from, is they were just, a lot of people felt forced to get them if we still wanted to be competitive at tournaments.
See, that I could definitely understand. I if I was in that position, I'd probably be pissed off too.
Oh, yeah. That's where I think a lot of the vitriol that still is there, by the way, comes from. It's partially because of the lore and how badly they were implemented, and it's also because the whole reason they were put in, the whole reason GW did it like that, was they were trying to force people to buy them so they could still have competitive armies.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, yeah, I understand that for sure. I mean, from my perspective now, I don't, I don't have that, but I definitely, if I had to replace a couple $1,000 army, I'd be pissed.
Yeah. That's where a lot of that came from.
Be burning down my local GW store or something. Yeah.
So
In Minecraft.
In Minecraft, very important.
Yeah, in Minecraft.
So I'm gonna also throw this question out to you. So, and this is very much related to the unrelated to the models, and kind of shifting gears here. But have you seen the 9th edition animated trailer for?
That's the one with the Sisters of Battle,
Yeah.
the Necron. Yeah, I've seen it.
So you've seen that one, And I assume you've seen the 10th edition animated trailer.
Yes.
Okay. So, in the two questions I'm throwing your way, the same two I asked Spiffier. A, did you think that the 10th edition trailer looked a lot more cartoony, kind of rounded out, softer looking edges to things? Did you notice it looked very much more cartoony in the 10th edition trailer to the 9th?
And I noticed a lot of it has to do with lighting. I've seen people that have like still screens when like a bolter is firing or something, so it lights up the whole screen. They paused it right there, and it looks. I mean, it's no Space Marine animated series. You know what I mean? It's yeah. I don't know what the hell they were doing, but it's kind of looked that way across a lot of their stuff, hasn't it? I mean,
no, not really, not at all.
Well, I mean I'm sorry, the newer stuff. I like the Iron Warriors thing. I mean, I'm not totally all up into the animation stuff, but from what I've seen of like the more recent things, it's kind of dodgy here and there.
Don't worry, the animation quality has been dodgy, yeah, but the actual like design feeling that soft and cartoony and rounded out, this is the first time it's looked like that, and it looks strange to me, and it's definitely an intentional design because it's all the models in that animated trailer, both Tyranid, and it looks, and I usually point to Gilliman when we get the close-ups of his face, it looks like it was animated by Pixar.
It looks so weird.
The way he's rounded out. Compare Gilliman side by side to a picture of Buzz Lightyear in that new Pixar movie, which was a shitty movie, by the way. But compare us side by side. They have the same jawline, and it's just as soft in both that and in this. So that's what I point out. That's what I mean when I say it's cartoony. It's rounded. Everything looks so soft, and I have no idea why they chose to go that direction with the new trailer.
Well, not just that, they had that goofy ass moment where like it shows I think it was when the Terminators first come in, they zoom into those like two Tyranid that are like eating people, and they just like look at the camera. It's like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, they had the comedic pause. It's both in the aesthetic of it and the tone. It felt very odd, especially with how the tone of 40k has always been, to go that route.
Yeah, that was definitely very awkward, and things were very clean. Like when those Terminators come in, they look like they just been hit with a fresh coat of paint, and
yeah, they're polished. They don't look war torn at all. It's
like I get their new Terminators, but aren't they like? Isn't it lore wise? They're still the same Terminators. I mean,
they're supposed to be the same. Like those aren't new. They're just an updated model.
Yeah, that's weird to me. That was very weird. I mean, I think some of them looked a little, whatever, but yeah, they and then like, right after they get done with the silly goofy pause, they're like, oh yeah, that's right, we're supposed to be grimdark, so they tear a Terminator dude in half.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by noticing that stuff. And let me put my tinfoil hat on for a moment. I think they're doing that. I don't think this was just like it just happened to come out that way. I think that the animators for that trailer were directed to make it look cartoony. And I think that they're doing
it'd be like to draw like kids in or something, like if it looks like a Bionicles commercial, then maybe you'll get some 10-year-old asking his mom to buy him some models.
I'm just saying that's what I'm interpreting it to be. That's for sure. For me, I'm getting that vibe that they're trying to soften the actual, because the trailer is the main thing people are going to see, right? When they look up 40k 10th edition, or when they look up like, hey, the latest edition of 40k and getting into the game, the actual trailer for that edition is going to be the first thing a lot of people get on their feeds, probably next to it being Astartes. So when people see that really soft, I'd say kidified trailer, I think that they're trying to do a mass appeal. But I think they're starting to really shed what makes 40k 40k. And to be fair, they've been doing that for decades. This is nothing new. But the 9th edition still had a little bit of that identity, kind of like I could still taste it in it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, when you're seeing people get disintegrated and
Yeah,
shit.
like
Yeah,
it still had that. It still had. It was a lot of people still said it like, oh, 40k is still edgy, or it's still dark. I'm like, that's not a good example of grimdark. There's way better examples of grimdark than that. That was just like public domain friendly, dark. But compare that to this trailer, it felt way more kidified. Like it felt like more of a direct slap in the face of kidification than the 9th edition trailer and even some other things that they've done to kind of publicly try and push 40k to the greater masses.
Right, like I think if you remove the part where the dude gets like ripped in half, you could easily have that entire trailer on like a Cartoon Network.
Oh yeah,
morning.
absolutely. The thing is, even with that, they did it so fast that honestly, unless if you weren't paying 100% attention, you probably would have missed it, or you blinked the wrong time, because they really didn't hold on it that long.
Yeah, and like in the way they killed the librarian, like they just sort of like hit him with the sleep spell or something, and he falls over. It's like you didn't like blow up his head or something. I mean, it would have been neat.
Yeah, and it just
the Tyranids were just like, go to sleep.
Yeah, I have, like, again, tinfoil hat. We know for a fact, like, it's not tinfoil hat to point out that they're softening 40k, but the tinfoil hat part is, like, are they actually, is the main goal of this trailer to try and be like a family-friendly type deal thing that they want to show, like, on, like, Cartoon Network and other places like that, like, legitimately, like, is this something that they were going to pay, like, commercial space for?
I could definitely see it, yeah.
Yeah,
just like a trimmed down version where you cut out like a lot of the more like gruesome parts, like that first bit where the dude gets like stabbed and then plasma breath in his face. Like you just cut that out, just cut out a lot of the flamethrower stuff. Just show the guys walking around, and the Tyranids running through the forest. Hey, you're good. Just perfect 30-second child friendly commercial.
Yeah, I just that's might be tinfoil out of me, but.
No, I don't think it's tinfoil hat at all, dude.
Yeah. In another few years, when we get the 11th edition trailer, at this point, I'm actually genuinely expecting like full-on Pixar animation with the same color variants, and now it's just like Space Marines just standing all ominously, but there's no fighting at all. It's just like it's like moving darts on a board or some shit. Like there's nothing actually substantively action-packed happening. That, or if it does, they're gonna make the chainsaw swords look like fucking noodle swords.
Right. Those kids' foam swords you pick up on the toy aisle and beat the hell out of each other with.
Yeah. I'm just saying, at this point, like the kidification is escalating in my eyes, but that could.
Didn't they already try to do like a Warhammer Kids thing?
Oh yeah, they did. Oh yes, I read those books too. They're shit.
Yes.
They're so bad. They're so fucking bad. Like, Warhammer Adventures, by the way, is what that is. And I did, I think the video is still up on my channel. Not a great quality video. I've improved as a creator since then. But I did a review of the first book in the Warhammer Adventures series. And like a lot of people were putting up like this meme online of like, oh, people were worried that Warhammer's becoming kidified, and then they had this like meme of like this skeleton toy with glowing green eyes and text in front of it where it's like, actually in the book it's actually really grimdark because all this stuff happens. And that meme is a flat out lie. Like, yes, those things happen, but that they weren't like that. Right. The book does 100% kidify 40k. Like, there are some things that happen that are, if you look at them in bullet points, look dark. But the way the book like kind of quickly sifts around it or doesn't describe it in detail, fearing to like scar a kid for life with some dark imagery, it's not even Goosebumps level like scary. I mean,
it's Warhammer. Like, I wouldn't expect it to be for kids.
It's not.
This grand lie that people have these days of everything is for everyone is just. Ridiculous.
And that's that's never been true. There's never been a time where something has been for everyone. There has been things that were for most people, and yeah, most people, media is like, I think a lot of people would agree that even as an adult, if you were to watch, some of the older Disney Renaissance films, there's something there for most people. And yeah, it's a nice advertising slogan to say, oh, it's for everyone. But will 100% of people find something in those that they like? I guarantee you there's like some people who are not going to find anything that they like, even about those things. And those are and that goes for everything. Just everything has has something that rejects somebody's tastes. And it's just that's never been a thing.
It's the what is it, the mythical the missed audience that you don't have, that was never there to begin with. Yeah. You're not and if Games Workshop, like, what, you gonna start selling kids toys? Like, you already sell kids toys and you force us to pay like $100 for them. So what the fuck?
Yeah, and the thing is, I find it so weird that they're true. Like, you can tell that they think the reason Warhammer doesn't sell better than it does is because it's not kidified enough. No, that's nowhere. Like, first of all, kids nowadays are edgier than they've ever been. I should know. I'm a substitute teacher. Though I'm not doing it actively right now, I am looking for a different job because it is miserable dealing with middle schoolers. But kids now are edgier than they've ever been. Like, the conversations I hear these kids have at 10, 11, 12, 13 years of age is strikingly horrifying. I've had a 12-year-old girl come up to me and ask me if I thought a career path such as a stripper was ideal for her. What? And I have never been more terrified of a conversation in my life. That was just horrifying. I was having lunch, and a kid just come up to me and asked me that while they're supposed to be reading and doing study hall. So yeah. That's kids nowadays. They're fucked up.
Yeah, something's wrong.
So it's not
conversation for another time.
Yeah. So the kidification stuff. It for me is not, like, if they think that's what they need to do to make it more, like, appealing to people. No, like, just lower the price. Watch how fast that shit sells off the shelves when you lower the price to anything remotely reasonable.
Oh, pretty much. I mean, I remember I was looking at my stuff, and I was thinking about what I might need for the rest of my army, and it's like, oh, you could use a couple, like, what are they called? Assault intercessors, yeah. And it's like, oh, I could get like 2 boxes of those. It's like, that's $120, dude. Like, I don't know about that, Chief. I don't know about that. That's a lot of fucking money. That's 2 brand new video games. That's movies for the next year if I went out once a month. I mean, that's a lot of money to consider just dropping all at once.
Yeah, and we definitely they would. I genuinely think that them not realizing that it's so weird to me, because it's just any level of common sense. Our shit's not selling as well as we would like it to. Oh, we'll make it more kidified, or lower the price. Like, even to a remote, like, just look at, like, any other retailer that sells toys, actually assembled and painted toys, by the way. And look at what they sell models for. It's like, oh, $10 for this action figure. Oh, $5 for this. A kid is something I have to assemble, clean up, get rid of the mold lines, paint, terrain, design. Like, I have to do everything. You do basically nothing but take it right out of the printer and put it in the box and give me the instructions. That's all they do. And they still have the gall to upcharge as much as they do. So, quite frankly, if they want to make bank, they don't even need to, like, make it reasonable, in my opinion. They just need to drop it a little bit. It's still make it unreasonable, but they only got to drop it a little bit.
Maybe that if they just charged us what they charged the people in the UK, we'd probably be more, like, better off.
I think a lot of people would be, yeah.
The upcharge we get because they ship it overseas because they refuse to open a manufacturer here, or whatever the hell their problem is. It's fucking beyond me, dude. But it's like, I've had friends that would have easily gotten into Warhammer 40k if they could have just bought a box of, like, pre-painted, like, Ultramarines. Like, they don't give a shit that they're not playing Blood Angels or Dark Angels. If they could have just opened up a box and pulled out 10 Ultramarines that are already painted, like, I had kids' toys that were painted to some quality. I mean, shit, dude. They offer nothing other than this very expensive box of gray plastic.
Yeah. And we still got to buy the paints, which the paints are absurdly expensive, especially in the paint pots that they're in. I mean, freaking, right. Like, a paint pot, a pot of paint, just this big, is $5.99, and that's not including tax. $5.99. for this pot. Now, to be fair, you can make these pots go through like a lot of minis, but $5.99 for only this much paint.
Go through more if it was a damn eyedropper.
Yeah, and the thing is, they should be in eyedroppers for the same. I'd buy the same paints in sets in dropper bottles for, I'd say that fair price would be like, hey, $3 a dropper bottle of this same paint. What's wrong with that? But paint pots, if you don't secure like every time you gotta like muscle these closed and clicked every time.
Mash the top down, yeah. Because I noticed whenever you close it, the back never closes, and I didn't notice that when I first was painting.
That dries out the paint. That dries out the fucking paint. You leave that alone for too long, and if it's not properly tightly closed every time, that paint will eventually dry out and crackle, and you'll have to get a replacement pot.
Yeah. So I feel you there. It's some bullshit, man.
Yeah, and they do it on purpose. Like there's, you cannot tell me they put it in these because they're better for containing paint. No
way.
It's dropper bottles are the best way, and everyone knows that. GW knows it. They just prefer the paint pots because there's that risk it'll dry out your shit and you'll have to buy more.
Well, and part of me feels like the dropper bottles are a cheaper way to go anyways. I mean, they're always made out of like a squishier, softer plastic, so...
Oh, yeah, and you can like control how much or how little you splidge out on the paint palette.
Yeah.
So, and they're also better they're also, in my opinion, better to like shake.
Yeah. Well, especially if you get the little agitator balls. I mean, that's easy shit. I mean... That's super easy. Yeah, the paint pots they're so annoying. I've not enjoyed them ever since I started.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Well, anyway, I think yeah. So we've kind of gone over your thoughts on 10th edition. You don't have you thought it didn't look too bad on the rules front, but you...
No, I don't know. But yeah, I didn't think it looked too bad. I like the new models. I'm all good for all that stuff. I'm solid. I like the lion. I think he looks great with his helmet.
Yep.
The fucking the old man thing. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing people, just be, oh, but he wasn't in stasis. I'm so fucking tired of hearing that, dude. Like, just say you wanted to age him up. Just say you wanted him to look like the Onion Knight from Game of Thrones. Just say that. Just tell me those things and I'm okay.
I mean, I'd still complain about it, but I get what you... Yeah.
Yeah, don't fucking lie to me and sit there and try to wash it away with, oh, but he wasn't in stasis. Like, I'm sorry, so the Watchers were just like, we're going to keep him asleep until he turns into a skeleton. What?
Apparently.
Like, surely the Watchers understood the importance of keeping him, young, healthy, supple, ready to go.
Yeah, and again, like Space Marines that have been around for numerous centuries barely show their age, but only 1,000 years is all it takes for a Chris Hemsworth-looking lion to all of a sudden look like he's... We're looking at his time in the old folks' home. It's like, I'm sorry, but we already know Space Marines live an absurd amount of time. You're telling me the more immortal Primarchs don't live as long?
Yeah, I don't believe that at all, man. It's such bullshit.
But it's not the first time GW's not giving a shit about their own lore.
Oh yeah, no. From the little that I know, yeah.
All right.
It's not a surprise.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate having the conversation, and it's good to get a newer person to the hobby's perspective, just like it is to the old guard.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, no, it's always good stopping in and talking.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right, my dude. Yes, sir.
All right, so I don't got anyone else in the waiting calls right this second, but let me share the link again in chat. Hold on here. Yeah, if you guys are interested in coming on, giving your thoughts about 10th edition, the Lion, all that stuff, there's the link in chat. Yeah, good talk to you. Good talk to you too, Mr. Bones. And I think I'll use this opportunity to once again show the ad. I can mute myself. There it is. Yes, you. Do you like tabletop war games?
How did you get in my house?
Answer the question!
Yes! Yes!
And do you like grimdark sci-fi universes with sprawling lore?
Yeah?
Brilliant! Then please consider supporting the development of such a game called Warglaive Gothic, a grimdark sci-fi universe with Viking werewolves, vampires, driders, and grape-happy cannibalistic gnolls, all in space! Link to the Patreon page down below.
Is this an ad?
Yes! Alright. Just wanted to take the opportunity to show that again. And again, yeah. Please feel free to check it out if you guys are interested. Talk about the rapid ingress because it seems like no one gets the implications. Rapid ingress. Wait. I haven't even heard about that. What are they doing with rapid ingress in 10th? Hold on. Of course, I have Spiky Bits reported on it. Okay. Alright, rapid ingress. Core, strategic ploy stratagem. Be it cunning strategy, potent technology, or supernatural ritual, there are many means by which a commander may hasten their warrior's onset. When end of your opponent's movement phase, target one unit from your army that is in reserves. Your unit can arrive on the battlefield as if it were the reinforcement step of your movement phase. Wait, on the enemy's movement? You cannot use the stratagem to enable a unit to arrive on the battlefield during a battle round. It will not normally be able to do so in... Wait, hold on. So at the end of my opponent's movement phase, I can drop in a unit with rapid ingress wherever I want? Well, not wherever. Usually it's the edges of the battlefield, isn't it? It doesn't specify. Hold on. Yeah, so it's just a deep strike during my opponent's turn. So yeah, it is a deep strike. Okay, so I wait. What? Think deep strike, but instead of 9-inch charge, you get to move, shoot, and charge. What the wait, well, hold on. But instead of 9-inch charge, you get to move, shoot, and charge. That... Oh, no. Well, first of all, thank you for clarifying, because I was thinking it was just Deep Strike for a moment there. Like, just another form of Deep Strike. No, if Rapid Ingress, you can also shoot and charge. Move, shoot, and charge. That is horrible. That's broken, actually. That is fucking broken. It's only 1 CP. So wait, hold on. There's got to be more to it. Let's say it's your turn. You move your dudes, and I now get to place a repulsor with 5 aggressors inside of it optimally, may out of the line of sight. Yeah, that actually... Well, I'm trying to... You do your thing, shoot, and so on. Then it's my turn. I get to unload that repulsor, move everything, shoot, and charge. Yeah, that's broken. Yeah, that's broken. Yeah. That is bullshit. So why are they having this in? Like why are they having it work like that? That's pretty glaring. Because if you can move, shoot, and charge with the type of movement that's equivalent to a deep strike, which with a deep strike, for those who don't know, you just 9-inch charge, but you can't move, shoot, and charge. It's only a charge with a deep strike. It's a core stratagem. Yeah, you're right. Core strategic ploy strat. Oh. Yeah, that's worse. That's worse. I was thinking it was... Okay, so it's not even specific. So it only costs 1 CP to do it, which most army setups people have, even if you have ridiculous ones with multiple deployments or multiple armies in your army. Like let's say you're running Imperial Knights as allied to a squad of Black Templars. You still will have like at least 3 CP to start with, or maybe less. But it only costs 1 CP to use this, and everyone can do it. Exception written somewhere, maybe. I mean, I haven't... just going by your description and what I'm reading here, it's just... So if it's a core stratagem that anyone can do, kind of like, which by the way, core stratagems are also like command reroll, which is you use a CP to reroll one of your dice if you have a bad roll. So if anyone can use rapid ingress to drop someone in, and you can move, shoot, and charge. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to actually see it used. Because I don't do much with reserves myself with my own armies, to be fair. Like, I don't do a shit ton with reserves. Because normally I just have my guys on there. I might, like, put orcs, like, for example, in a truck for, like, a transport. Or inside of, like, my Stampa. But I don't do, like a lot of reserve stuff. So maybe there is something more to this that's not written here. But, yeah, going by that... Yeah, that's bad. That is so... Like, you can just fucking basically nuke people. Yeah, you can basically, like... Because thing is, for those who don't get why this is a big deal, in the game, like both opponents on the board, you have units that you deploy during your deployment phase. And during your turn, you have different things you can do during your turn. Or during your round of a given turn, and you have multiple stages of your turn you can do, and part of you have like your movement phase, you have shooting, then you have attack or melee. You have different phases for what you can do, and how this essentially seems to work is. After we've had everything, I have like a reserve set of units that have a unique way to enter the battlefield, either through the battlefield edges, which is how some people do it with reserves, and then you also have deep strikes, which is where units can basically pod drop in the middle of battle, or in the middle, well, not necessarily in the middle of battle, but in the middle of the board. And when they drop in with deep strike, there are limits to what those units can do out of the pods that they're coming in. One of those things being they can charge the enemy, but they can't run out and accurately or assumedly shoot proper. They're popping out and they can only charge, but they can't move freely. They don't get a movement proper, and they can't shoot. They can't take their guns out and start blasting people. The idea is being that when they drop in, that those things pop open and it's a bum rush. But it's not. But they're dazed to the point where they can't like properly shoot it, and they can't properly move freely. It's a reactionary thing. That's how normally deep strikes work. But with this rapid ingress, with the expense of 1 CP, which you get at the start of every turn, every time it's your turn, not every phase, but every turn, you get 1 CP. And for the same cost of just being able to reroll a dice, which to be fair, can be broken in and of itself, because being able to just do a whole reroll of some of your dice is big. But for the same cost as that, though, you can and again, like in the game, the enemy units with deep strike, they don't know where you're going to deep strike, so they got to be prepared for at any point for you to drop in and hit them hard where they're not expecting, or they got to strategize around it. But at least they know. Your opponent may not know where you're going to do it, but at least they know and can fairly react in a level with deep strikes, because when there is a deep strike, there's a limit to what you can do with your units. Like I said, you can only charge. So that's all they have to worry about is making you making your charge. But for you to not only surprise them by dropping in where they can't prepare for you because they don't know where you're going to drop, but not only do they have to worry about the charge and being attacked in melee, they now also have to worry about them being shot and for you to maneuver based on whatever their maneuver is. So you can move your units to be far more advantageous, then shoot, which will take a lot of models off the board potentially, and then on top of it to be also able to charge and attack in melee. There is no way in hell any player can prepare for all of those things with a rapid ingress. Like, to just all of that drop on them suddenly, that can literally just turn a game from a loss to a victory like that. And there's like, it's not even a strategy thing. It's a strategy move for you, I suppose, but for them, for the other player, there's like no way to properly react to all of that threat. That's like a tidal wave. That's a tsunami of things they have to put up with the moment you drop in. Deep strikes as it was are already a really cool strategy to pull. Correction, normal deep strike allows you to shoot and charge. You just can't move. Really? I thought you could only charge. Can't move or advance. Okay, so thank you for that correction. Never mind. It's my bad. I should have mentioned... Well, I did already mention it. I don't do a lot of stuff with reserve units, and I play orcs. So, I've only been deep striked on, and in my case, I don't remember being shot at. But I do remember getting charged, so... Okay, thank you for that correction, Smiley Maniac. Still, though... Reinforcement units cannot make a normal move, advance, fall back, or remain stationary in the turn they arrive in. Any reason, but they can otherwise act normally, shoot, charge, fight, etc. Okay. So, yeah. Well, okay, so that makes it a little less worse. But this is still a big deal. Not as much of one, though. Because if... Yeah, because, I don't know. I don't know how much to really rag on it then. Because if in a normal deep strike, you can also shoot and charge. That's like the big things to worry about, so. So if you can do both in rapid ingress and deep strike. And it's still a big deal, because being able to move and shift your position to be even more advantageous with those shots, and then still be able to charge, that is a big deal. But it's not as bad as I was thinking, where with a normal deep strike you can only do the charge. Yeah, if you can, in your normal deep strike you can still shoot and still charge. Those are the biggest parts of it. So yeah, really the only thing you're gaining with rapid ingress over deep strike is being able to move, which again still can rapidly change the play of the game there, and can make it so you can like move your units to their most advantageous shooting positions and to charge. But it's not as bad as what I was thinking initially, though. I will definitely have to see how much this ends up being. It's probably going to get spammed, to be honest, because it's only 1 CP. If it, honestly, I don't have a problem with this if they made it more expensive. Yeah, if they made it cost more CP, I think that would actually I think it would, because then it would be a much bigger deal, right? Like, that's your Hail Mary. Like, if it costs 3 or more CP, I think that'd be okay. But I think the real problem is it's so cheap. This costs as much as a command reroll. which should not be the case. It should be more expensive. Because the idea is that you're doing more than a deep strike. This is a far bigger deal. Like you get to move, you get to shift position. That's huge. Because that can mean a huge difference between the accuracy of your shots, the number of units you can shoot, and also your charge position. Yeah, so I wouldn't say they have to get rid of this rule, but they definitely need to make it more expensive. Like, make it a Hail Mary thing. Mr. Bones, chapters are... Chapter detachments, wait a minute. Well, no, we already have detachments, but that's not the same thing. Wait, what do you mean they're getting... let me address that after this call. Zoid Industries, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hello? Hello? I hear something. Or heard something. What the... Hello? I heard you before. Like, I pulled you in before and you were making noise, man. Now you're not, though. Zoid, you got to go into general waiting. I can't go into those call rooms because they have a limit of one person. You see the number on the side, Zoid? That represents how many people can be in that. You have to go into general waiting, otherwise I can't talk to you. I can't go in those rooms because they have only one slot. Okay, never mind then. I dragged him in before and he left the call. I don't know why. Because I could hear him the first time. Then he chose to go into waiting call room 2. I pulled him back in again, and that time I couldn't hear him. And then I just tried to go into general waiting room, and I waited for like a solid 2-3 minutes there, and he didn't go into there for some reason. And the reason I can't go into waiting call room 1, which is the one he's in, is because waiting call rooms 1, 2, and 3 only allow one person into them. I set them up like that because I didn't want like 50 people waiting in call room 1 when I only want to be able to grab one person from each slot. They're all waiting slots. It's a feature, not a bug. Hello? Okay then, so I don't know what's going on. I think Zoid might be trolling. I don't know. Anyway, so I don't have anyone else waiting in call. See you for now. Hey, Karn. Alright, so we've had a few callers in. Oh, it was late telling you? Yeah, well, I'm over an hour and a half into the show. Alright, Mantis Kindin. Mantis, how you doing? Welcome to the open mic.
Oh, I'm doing all right. Yourself?
I'm doing okay.
I'm doing all right. Yourself?
I'm doing okay. So, what do you think of 10th edition?
I'm worried, but I'm part of the old guard. I've been playing since third.
That means I'm definitely curious to get your take. So do you have any detailed thoughts about the pitches for the simplification of the game, the new command point focus on their core stats, anything like that? The change to weapon skill being tied to the weapon itself?
Oh, I think that's horrible because it'll make things so much more confusing and just have you bookkeep even more.
All right.
I'm working on the sub. Yeah.
Because you'll have to like keep switching, from weapon profile to weapon profile instead of everything just being right there.
Well, to be a little bit fair to it, it is specific to each unit. So, well, I think the part that does make it would make it confusing is that each weapon is different in the hands of, like, you can have the same weapon. For example, let's say the chainsword. If it's in the hands of a sergeant in the guard, it's going to have a different weapon profile to a space marine or assault marine. So you will have to... It's not like you can memorize what the weapon has in relation to the unit it's connected to every single time. It is going to change, but at the same time, you're going to be running one army, assumedly. You're going to know, like, okay, all my assault marines have this weapon, therefore they all have the same profile. But, yeah, I can see it being confusing, but I'd actually have to play it. I don't know. I when I first saw it, though, I did initially take it as a positive change.
Does that come out of the money that you take every month? Okay.
Yeah, it could be, but I'm still grumpy old guard guy, so.
Okay. Do you have any takes about the lore shifts? With the lion waking up, do you think they're going to handle that correctly?
I think it's cool that the lion is waking up, but knowing GW, yeah, they're probably not gonna do it very well.
Yeah. Alright, so I guess also to pitch this to...
And I agree with you with the whole part of Gilliman.
Hello?
And the lion should not get along.
Yeah, I definitely... For me, like, there's just so much Gilliman has done, and a lot of the problems in the current Imperium are his fault. Also, the whole Primaris thing, that's definitely not going to rub Lion the right way. So, there's a lot that he's not going to react to very well.
One of the credit cards has accepted
I'm sorry, man. I hear someone in the background.
that puzzle bit. I would better all.
Hold on. I'm gonna have to disconnect.
Okay. I'll bring in the next call then. Thank you, though, man.
Nice talking to you, though, bro.
Yeah, nice talking to you, too, as well. All right. Well, that went a little weird. Hey, big old troll. Howdy. Howdy, how? I'm pulling in Karn now. Karn, welcome to the stream and to the open mic. How you doing?
I'm Oshi. I'm doing a little bit tired. It's the holidays at the moment. It's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah. Definitely you'd be busy this time of year.
Oh yeah, I have two 10-hour work days behind me.
Wow. Hey, that's more money, though, right?
Yeah, more money.
More money,
So,
more money.
but now to the important things, Warhammer.
Yes. So, what are your thoughts about 10th?
Well, I don't play the tabletop, so I thought we just jump to the lore.
All right, we'll just jump to the lore then. Lore focus.
Since I have no idea what the 10th actually brings. So, the thing is, I actually kind of find it interesting to get back the line. Not just because I'm a Dark Angels fan. More about, like, the line is more or less the base template for all the other Primarchs. Like, he was the first one made, and the first one everyone was based about. Because the Emperor wanted to make, how should I put it, something like an exterminator first. Because if you recall, the Dark Angels used to be that kind of legion that you would get if you want something to be gone out of history. Like, no one talks about it anymore. You send in the Dark Angels.
Oh, true.
And-
the Space Wolves also have that reputation, but more as his direct executioners.
The Space Wolves make an example. The Dark Angels make stuff vanish.
Fair distinction, yeah.
Which, because of that, I kind of find it interesting to get him back, because he's kind of the opposite side of Gilliman. Since the Gilliman is a way more outgoing person, he does everything quite on the open.
He's a
Meanwhile-
politician.
Yeah, he's a politician. Meanwhile, the Lion doesn't like that. He can go out and he can be this bright and nice person, but he prefers to be a little bit more inward. And that's going to be an interesting thing to see. Now, Bones said that Lion will clean house on the church. I doubt that he's going to do that. That would be not really in line with how he works.
Well, I don't think he'd do it directly, but I definitely think he'd undermine them. A lot.
Either undermine them or use them for his own good, because the Lion is a very strategic person. Like, instinctually, even. Like, he doesn't even need to think about that much. Like, if you recall reading the books, he comes up with plans pretty much
I mean,
out of nowhere.
he kind of did a really dumb move in the Horus Heresy when he gave Perturabo the siege weapons.
Yeah, that's one many people always call out. Like, hey, but he did this stupid thing. And I said, yeah, he's the siege master. He's well known throughout. And I don't think the Lion had anything to suspect from him. Like, after all, he's
Yeah,
like
but
one of his
you look at the
brothers.
situation, it was very suspicious. Like, you just took this place, you took these weapons, you were like, all right, I'm going to do my best to keep them away from the enemy. Then they're siege weapons. And then, conveniently, Perturabo and his Iron Warriors, of all factions, of all sub-factions, shows up and says, hey, I'll take those off your hands.
And he went, yes, brother, of course.
Yes, of course. Go right ahead.
Yeah, like, that's always like those writing faults that GW likes to use.
Yeah.
Which, right, they would need something according of a lore master that actually
Oh yeah, they
maybe reads it before
they desperately need a lore. A, they need a lore Bible, and B, they need someone to actually maintain it.
because I'm good. Like, I find it interesting for him to come back for the line because there's a lot of shit going on that will surprise him either negatively or positively. Like, he's most likely going to go for a beeline to Gilliman first, like talk to his brother, what's up? And then he's going to try to find Luther as fast as fucking possible.
Beeline for him.
Yeah, I think he's going for his brother first, then Luther.
Yeah, I definitely I don't know if you agree with this, but I want him to have a confrontation with Gilliman. Maybe not necessarily a fight. I do think he'd be, what's the term, resolved.
Yeah, brotherly.
More like a behind closed doors spat between two managers.
Yeah,
But Primarch edition.
Primarch edition, yeah. Since I forgot if Line was actually in favor of the Gilliman's book of the Codex Astartes. I thought he wasn't.
I'm pretty sure. If I remember the pairings correctly, there was three. It was basically 3v3. Because the Salamanders were knocked out of the running. Period. They weren't able to, even if they wanted to, they weren't able to confront it, and they weren't able to be for it. Like, they just didn't have the numbers. And I think the same goes for the Raven Guard and the
Iron Hands.
The Iron Hands. So the factions that were even able to pose for it or against it were the Imperial Fists, obviously the Ultramarines themselves, the Dark Angels, the White Scars, Space Wolves,
yeah,
and I think one other one that I'm not thinking of.
I'm pretty sure the White Scars were for the Codex, the Blood Angels were for the Codex.
Yeah, Blood
Yeah,
Angels.
then I think yeah, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, and the Imperial Fists were against it at first.
Hold on.
One thing the Space Wolves and the Dark Angels agreed on.
Which? Hold on, I'm trying to see if I can cheat on this one. Let's see. So the White Scars were the White Scars were for it.
Okay. Which is weird, right?
It is weird because it doesn't. For some reason, just on my. So it just lists White Scars for it, and Imperial Fists were against it.
Well, duh. Until the not so happy cage happened.
It's pretty much, it's pretty clear he took them to that on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just got them listed as definitively for or against. It seems like everybody, obviously the Ultramarines were for it because it was Gilly's thing.
Yeah.
Daddy
wrote the book.
I don't know. Based on my memory, I remember the Lion being for it, and so were the White Scars and Jagatai Khan. And then the other side of things was Space Wolves, regardless, weren't for it and weren't going to really care about it. And even when it ended up being the thing, they still didn't really obey it. The Imperial Fists weren't for it, and I think the Blood Angels weren't a fan of it either. But they didn't have a Primarch to really voice that on their behalf.
But the thing is, the Dark Angels, didn't even really go to chapter compliance.
No, not really.
Like they say they are, but then they have a full chapter that's just Terminators. Because that's what basically the Death Wing is.
Yeah. Well, regardless of that,
Yeah, because the thing is, I want to see the spat between those, because one Legion built again, which is Gilliman, and the other side, the Dark Angels, never really actually split.
no, they didn't. And the thing is, it's the spat. I don't see veering mostly over the codex. I think the consequences of it, and also the high. I think the biggest thing is the way the Imperium, quote unquote, well, actually, no, I'll just say devolved in their absence. A good portion of that can be traced directly back to Gilliman's stuff. Like,
He's not entirely at fault. Like, I don't think he could have foreseen certain things. Like, not that I want to defend Captain Blueberry Crunch, but not everything is on him, I will say.
I disagree, but okay.
He did not see the Cult Imperialis glowing up to be as it is.
Which is weird for a man supposedly so genius in logistics. But I digress.
Well, just because you are good at logistics doesn't mean you really know the human nature.
So you're looking forward to how they're going to handle that. Do you think that they're actually
With
going
heavy
to
heart. Do it well?
Yeah, do you actually think they're going to handle it well?
Maybe starting out, maybe, but then it's most likely going to be a nosedive, because the more GW writes about the subject, the more suspect the quality gets, as we have seen with the Horus Heresy.
Yeah, that is very true. Starts out very strong and falls off a cliff later as things go.
Like, before all of that primary stuff even started, like, why the fall of Cadia was a bit sudden, the preamble actually wasn't all that bad. It's just GW isn't, or the writers at least for GW aren't really able to keep up that standard.
To be honest, I don't think it's because they lack the ability to keep up the standard. I think it's because they lack the consistency and one single view. They all want to add or alter something based on their own tastes, and there's too many of them. Again, like all 99.9% of all of the lore problems come from the fact that there's over last I checked, wasn't there almost a writer per book for the Horus Heresy series at this point?
I don't know. I stopped after. What do I have here? Mechanicum? I think I stopped after Mechanicum. So I didn't go into double digits, or far into the double digits at least.
Hold on, so let's go. I'm actually going to pull up the goddamn list because they actually have their authors listed. Okay. So. Oh my god, this is a list.
That's always a good sign if you have too many cooks in the fucking kitchen.
Okay, so Dan Abnett, David Annandale, Andy Chambers, Mark Clapham, Andy Clark, Ben Counter, Aaron Dembski-Bowden, Chris Bowes, CZ Dunn, Matthew Ferrer, Peter Faharvari, John French, Matt Forbeck, LJ Goulding, David Geimer, Guy Haley, Rachel Harrison, Justin D. Hill, Darius Hinks, Andy Hoare, I almost said Hoare, because... Hoare, Hoare, Nick Horth, Paul Kearney, Phil Kelly, William King, Nick Kime, Mike Lee, Jesus. Nathan Long, Graham Lyon, Steve Lyons, no relation, Robbie McNiven, George Mann, Graham McNeil, Sandy Mitchell, Kim Newman, Anthony Reynolds, Josh Reynolds, Rob Sanders, Andy Smiley, Ian St. Martin, J.C. Stearns, James Swallow, Gav Thorpe, Ian Watson, C.L. Warner, Richard Williams, Chris Wright, And it just at the very end it says anthologies, and it lists a bunch of books that are written by multiple people.
I only recognize like 5 names,
Yeah.
with John French being one of my favorite ones.
I only recognize like 2 of them.
Not Gabe Thorpe. I think he made. Did he write Eisenstein?
Well, let me actually go through the ones I recognize. Dan Abnett I recognize.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have seen Mark Clapham's name on a few things, so that's one I know. Let's see. Aaron Dubsky Bowden, of course. Almost everybody knows ADB, for better or for worse. John French. I've seen John French's name on stuff. Guy Haley. Gav Thorpe.
Graham McNeil.
Yeah, Graham McNeil. Those are the ones I know.
Yeah.
Everybody else I don't.
They should like cut that list and like go over which book is even like worth to keep around.
Yeah. Let's see. So in total, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46 writers. Not including the ones that worked on anthologies that didn't get their own dedicated book to write.
It's even worse with something like that.
46 credited.
What I need is a good author for Loyalist.
Mm-hmm.
Get the guy who wrote the Death Watch novels. They are pretty decent.
Thing is, I get having multiple writers work on something as big as like 40k. It's a huge setting. But 46 writers, and again, that's not including the writers that contributed to anthologies that weren't on that list.
Sometimes you need to get the read away from the shaft. Like you cannot keep like every one of them.
That's why after reading off that list and listing all of those fucking writers, I think back to something that Luton09 once said it was in his in my opinion infamous video where he was so full of shit. He was defending the idea that there is no such thing as canon in 40k, which, by the way, Luton09 had that opinion way before the Templin Institute did and voiced it, and I still find it funny that so many people let that slide for Luton. For me, it's the reason I don't subscribe or like Luton's videos at all, because for me, all of his lore videos have no value, based on what he's told me they have for no value, because he says he doesn't believe in canon.
Okay, I just saw something shocking. I forgot that it was Graham McNeil that wrote the Reflection Cracked.
Really? You didn't write... Well, anyway.
Whoa.
That's
a dip in quality.
Yeah, but Luton also said in his video where he stated it was fact that there was no canon in 40k, very arrogantly, I might add. But he said in that very same video, he brought up a point that, you know, because he was trying to counter potential arguments he would receive about that opinion, which is a wrong opinion. But to count, one of them was that he predicted people would like bring up the fact that if anyone writes anything into 40k, it becomes canon. And he said, well, that's obviously completely wrong and arrogant. Oh my god. It's not just anyone. They have to become an official writer for Black Library. It's like, yes. And there's 46 of them. They're not exactly fucking picky. Just saying. So, yes, it is very much just like anybody off the street who gets hired and can make whatever sweeping changes they want to 40k if they get hired. But anyway.
Yeah, everything is canon until said otherwise.
Yeah. Like I said, I do have to repeat this because I have had to say it in the past because some people think I hate Luton. I don't hate Luton. I despise his takes on some things as a member of the same community I am in, but I don't have any problem with him as a person.
Yeah, you can
There's-
hate an opinion without hating the person.
Yeah, and that's my case with Luton. As I loathe his takes and opinions, and that's what to the point where I find it very frustrating when people reference him as an authority on things. He is the worst choice for an authority on anything to do with 40k. In my
Unless
opinion,
there's a
solely because of
Wikipedia
his
page in front of him.
yeah. In my opinion, solely because of his belief that there is no canon. Like for me, that should be evidence enough that Luton is not an authority on this stuff.
If you
That's me.
don't believe in a overall canon, why are you even wasting your time making lore?
Yeah, that's
Like-
why I don't watch his videos, because for me it's like these are a bunch of videos that he himself has voiced. He doesn't believe in any of it. Like he doesn't believe any. So if any one of his videos tomorrow can be overwritten by 40k and he'll be okay with that, and that lore mattered nothing,
It's like
I can't respect it. I can't respect it.
it's like a vegetarian working on the fish market.
Yeah, or in a butchery. It's like I'm sorry, I can't respect it. It's just it for me. It's just again, I don't dislike him. I don't know him as a person. This is me solely commenting on his takes, and his takes are terrible. He has god awful takes. But anyway, moving on. So,
Let's hope they stay close to the canon for the line.
yeah, hopefully they stick to close to canon for Lion. Is there any other? So with like the whole Tyranid shift with 10th edition, or at the very
kinda
least, they're
makes
clearly
sense.
going to get a highlight. So what do you think?
Yeah, well, it kind of makes sense because the Tyranids are relatively unexplored. Like we don't know a lot of them. We like don't know much about their social structure since we only know. Yeah, there's the Norn Queen. The Norn Queen lives in a big hive ship. There are other hive ships. Some are for making more soldiers. Some are for attacking. That's kind of all we know. We don't really know the grander purpose or everything. I hope it doesn't get explained much, but I'm fine with the focus on the Tyranids. Because for a threat as big as they are supposed to be, they kind of went a little bit almost forgotten with all the chaos things, with all the chaos going on and with all the gigantic orc wars going on. So
Yeah,
I don't have any issues against getting a little bit more of Tyranids. Oh, and the Necrons. The Necrons had like a huge overhaul.
even after the Indominus Crusade, I didn't really ever get that vibe that Necrons felt like they were a rising threat. I don't know. That could just be me. Like they,
I know. I just talking about they got a lot of more new stuff.
yeah, true. Like actual like models and stuff, of course. But but lore wise, like even after Indominus, I never felt. I hope that's different with the 10th edition. I do hope that we do feel like the Tyranids are an actual proper standing threat.
I always find it so weird. Like Necrons should be a little bit more diplomatic, I would say, at certain points, because they went from this like machines that just wanted everything dead to those different type of dynasties with different ruling and belief systems. That I think it's kind of weird that they still try to show them as those emotionless machines that want to eradicate everything, but still have personality and personality shifts like with Trazen. They are going confused directions with the Necrons, which I wish they would kind of stop with that.
Yeah, I agree there. Okay.
Like, decide if you want to have the soulless killing machines or the strategic halfway diplomats.
Yeah, I would prefer them personally as my preference. Just stick with their original theme. They should be the mass murdering soulless machines. Like that's their theme. I really like that. I get that a lot of people from the lore perspective, they're like, oh, okay, I'd like a bit more complexity. So,
No, I kind of like when they were more Lovecraftian, where they had this green glow that was somehow still sucking off the light from around them.
I don't know if I'd agree that was Lovecraftian. I don't think I ever got the Lovecraftian vibe from them. Maybe they're certainly imposing and bigger than we can understand, but
the old stuff had a little bit of this, like higher beings from beyond human knowledge kind of thing going on.
yeah.
And because of the Catan, I think that was before there were retcon as being shards that they were using. I think it was a little bit before that. If Ball only was here, Ball would know that immediately.
I believe he would.
We need to get him out of the old folks' home.
He's a working man. He can't waste time with us youngins. All right. Well, is there anything else you wanted to comment on in regards to 10th edition, the Lion, anything like that?
Yeah, they should make him young again. He looks like he's Rogel Dawn.
I've said it multiple times this stream. I've said it multiple times before the stream. I still don't like the logic that it's because he wasn't in stasis. It's like my ass.
He's also supposed to to be the oldest one, but
that doesn't matter. Like here's again. He looked 1,000 years before this point in the lore. He looked like basically Chris Hemsworth playing Thor. Like that's what he looked like back during the Horus Heresy. You're telling me that a Space Marine can barely show the difference in their age after numerous centuries, to the point where people think, even Space Marines themselves, from an age perspective, think they're immortal. And that the only time a Space Marine is actually shown to age excessively was after they were magically increased in age by a shit ton by Harud. Dantiak and Harud.
Poor fuck.
You're telling me a Space Marine, which was still a human at one point, that just got really shifted in biology, barely shows their age at that time, but a Primarch shows excessive age after only 1,000 years.
The beauty sleep went on for too long and turned into an ugly sleep.
Oh, like I said, it's just, I'm sorry, but that's just a huge contradiction for me. It's like, Space Marines should be showing their age after a couple centuries then. They should be looking like 80-year-old men after 300 years of service. They shouldn't still look like they're barely into their 30s at 300, 400 years of service. I just, you can't have that and also be like, oh yeah, and the Primarchs look like they aged 50 years in 1,000. I'm sorry, I just, no. Like, they're supposed to be only a few degrees worn down from the Emperor himself, and the Emperor didn't age at all since basically the dawn of humanity. He's been alive.
Yeah, well, as far as we know,
as far as we know,
it's apparently like, the Emperor makes you believe that he looks like how he looks. He might be looking completely different. And I say, fuck off, shut the fuck up. Too much details on things we don't really need.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zoidberg has been waiting for a while now.
Yeah, I'll probably end the open mic with him. Thank you so much for coming on, Kern.
Oh, no biggie. See you later, my dude.
Yeah, much appreciated. Zoid, can you hear me? Hello. Hey, 0923. I said 92. 0 I figured why the lion looks old. He did hard drinking for a month, seeing the state of the appear. Honestly, I'd buy that more than, he just wasn't in stasis for that 1,000 years. Kiss my ass. Kiss my ass, you just wanted him to look old. Zoid, can you hear me? Because I cannot hear you. Yeah, I can't hear you, man. Yeah, man. I'll give you a minute. I'll give you a couple minutes. If you can't figure it out, I'm gonna have to call it. Cause yeah, I don't. I know Android is weird with Discord, but can't linger. The lion busted Russ's meowed mead or oh, excuse me. Meowed. Words. Works both ways. We get to ignore everything Black Library and GW is saying about Big E being a random nobody. It goes a little both ways, but the thing is, I'd still want. The thing is, we could still do that with the official canon. Like with any official canon, you can still ignore elements to a degree anyway that you don't like. It's just no matter what. At the end of the day, it's their property, it's their IP. They get the say on what's canon, unfortunately. And we as a player base, yeah, we do get to ignore some stuff. A lot of people go by like, hey, by this edition, anything after that, I don't really consider. It's all like, you know, your head canon or your personal canon, but like the actual official canon, we don't get to get a say in or ignore. Sadly. They use an amalgamation of shamans. Is that the official one? I know that they officially gave him a name, which is Neoth, which, fuck that. I hate that that's his name. But did they officially confirm which of the origin theories was correct? Because I know that was the most popular. I never understood why that was the most popular one. I mean, side rant here. I never understood why the most popular theory with the Emperor's origins was he was a group of shamans. I assume because it was mentioned in some old edition of 40k in a specific text, but I don't know. Like the other theories that I heard when I first joined the hobby, I liked a lot better. Like for me, the fact that he was incarnated from the energies of a dying old one, like it's bullshit, but it's still better than the shamans. Say this like a Brit. Meowed. Hey, you didn't say what kind of British.
Oh.
I can now hear you.
Okay. Hey. Hi. First time on the open mics.
Yeah. How you doing?
Good.
Good. So what are your thoughts on 10th? The 10th edition?
Honestly, I'm cautious on it because I haven't been in the hobby very long. Maybe 4 or 6 years.
Just it? Just a little bit cautious? Or any, like, I guess I'll prod here. Do you have any comments or opinions about the data sheet shifts, the weapon skill being attached to the weapon itself, anything like that?
Nothing that hasn't already been said.
Okay.
And again, I'm brand new to the hobby. I literally only became aware of 40k maybe 6 years ago. Oh, and got into it 4 years ago.
Okay. Oh, well. Everyone's going to start somewhere. Let's see. Do you have any thoughts about the lion coming back or any of the lore implications with 10th?
Wait and see. That's my opinion on that.
Okay. That's a fair point to take. I mean, it's hard to make an opinion before we got all the details. I do tend to be... I'm more on the negative side because based on my experience and track record with GW, but I can understand being, especially since you're newer and you don't have as much experience with the worst of GW, that you'd be more just cautiously optimistic, or just cautious?
Cautiously optimistic.
Okay. That was all my questions.
I don't have anything to ask you.
Okay. Oh, thank you for coming on, Zoid. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right, that was Zoid. Yeah, so that was gonna be my last call. Real quick, before we wrap things up with some of my final thoughts. And by the way, we had some great discussions. Thank you everybody who came in and lend their thoughts to the open mic. We had some people who were veterans, some people who were newer to the hobby, and we had some people who had who had been in the hobby a long time, but like in the case of Karn, focus more on the lore and less on the tabletop side of things. So before we overall wrap up, allow me to play my ad one more time. You. Yes, you. Do you like tabletop war games?
How did you get in my house?
Answer the question!
Yes! Yes!
And do you like grimdark sci-fi universes with sprawling lore?
Yeah?
Brilliant! Then please consider supporting the development of such a game called Warglaive Gothic, a grimdark sci-fi universe with Viking werewolves, vampires, driders, and grape-happy cannibalistic gnolls, all in space! Link to the Patreon page down below.
Is this an ad?
Yes! Alright. Hope you guys enjoyed that. But yeah. Overall, my thoughts with what we've seen. I mean, I learned a cool thing about this old mic is I got to learn some things I didn't know before. And one of those was about the ingress, rapid ingress thing. Which, yeah, it's way too cheap for what it is. 1 CP for a deep strike where your units can freely move after they drop in. No. That should be... It shouldn't cost the same amount as a reroll. I do think they should make that more expensive. And to be honest, other than that, I think it's fine. I think it is cool to have a deep strike, but you can do more in it, which is just one thing. But the one thing is big. It's being able to move. Being able to freely move to make your shots more advantageous and your charge more capable, that is huge. But... James, I know you're sold. I'm glad you're sold. Yeah. Again, we had some good conversation. I was happy to hear like the variety of thoughts, and we got some cautiously optimistic people who are hoping for something really good with the Lions' return. We got some people who are a bit, like myself, a bit more on the concern side, not sure how GW is going to handle it, and assuming the worst. I'm very much am, but I've been burnt too many times, so who knows? Maybe GW will prove me wrong. Hopefully they will. That's the thing. I never say any of these things with the hope they're going to fuck it up. It's with the hope that I'm wrong and that they're going to do it well. So hopefully they handle the Lions' return well. And hopefully, and also that rumor and that belief that they're going to be meshing together the Space Marine stat lines between Firstborn and Primaris to the point where they're the same stat line. I hope to God that is 100% true. I really want that to be the case. So because that would take a lot of the that birth, because when the Primaris entered the hobby and that birth of their inception in the hobby, one of the biggest sources of hatred towards them outside of the lore was the fact that they had objectively better stat groups in their data sheets than Firstborn Marines. And that sucked. It sucked to have your entire army of Firstborn Marines invalidated effectively in the competitive scene that you'd spent years and years collecting, assembling, and putting together, all that to get bleh, to then... Yeah, to then being, in a way, very much forced. If you wanted to have your army still be competitive, be forced to buy the latest and greatest Primaris Marines. So, little late, but I'm glad that they're fixing that now, where there's no difference between stat-wise Primaris and Firstborn. Now we just have the lore complaint, which is better to have, to be honest. You like that? That sounds horrible to me. I like that because it removes the, for like old guard players, that some of who quit 40k over, because they felt that their armies weren't competitive anymore, and they'd spent thousands and thousands of dollars collecting old school Marines to just suddenly be invalidated like that by Primaris. Yeah, I absolutely think it's a good thing for those guys to be like, okay, my army's actually the same now as a Primaris. So now I can enter the field of battle, and it wasn't a waste. All that time and investment is now no longer wasted from a gameplay perspective. I do think that is a good thing. Having them separated by stat lines is kind of bullshit, to be honest. Especially with how initially much better Primaris were to Firstborn. It made the clear cut, like, yeah, people made the argument like, oh, but if you were strategic enough with your Firstborn Marines, you could totally kick the ass of a Primaris player. Yeah, but take a equally skilled player who's playing Primaris and someone who's equally skilled playing Firstborn Marine, especially when they first released, it was pretty clear cut who was going to get their butts kicked, in my opinion. That would be the Primaris player. Again, assuming equal skill. You are correct, though. That is the negative side of it, Spiffier, is if they do mesh together Marines in terms of their stat bases, of their data sheets, yes, you're right. We will likely lose. And if that is the case, then that kind of undoes. I definitely undoes it severely, the positive angle, and this is GW. Like, if they can't sell Firstborn at all, obviously you could make the argument that they could still sell them for like Horus Heresy players, but even then, with the new Horus Heresy models, they're sized up. They're already true scale Marines for that. So, but they're still producing separate models for example, Horus Heresy versus 40k, but. Outside of that, I could see them ceasing manufacturing. Yeah, so it's the nail in the coffin Firstborn in 40k, but I still see them manufacturing them for the Horus Heresy game. I don't agree at all on that one, Calcul. I definitely don't agree on that one. I don't think that these scaled up models for the Horus Heresy set look un-Warhammery. But I think that comes down to an opinion. I don't think I don't think you're wrong, because it's your opinion. It's what you think. But I will tell you, it's wrong for me. I don't agree with that. I do think the True Scale Marines, I think they look great. They're the best of both worlds, in my opinion. They still have the they have the Firstborn aesthetic, but they're properly proportionally sized for Space Marines. Like the Primaris are more like sized up, and also, details. Phasing out of phasing out of Firstborn, it's already happening. Oh yeah, it's already been happening. Which is why I can definitely believe that they're meshing the stats together. It's a rumor right now, but I can definitely believe it. So yeah, just that's my take. Is personally, I think the Horus Heresy models that they're producing of the True Scale Marines already look the best of both worlds. They have the Primaris detail and polish to the model, and they have the actual aesthetic, though, of Firstborn Marines. Although I'm not happy that they're all beakies, at least as far as all the sets I've seen, but you can get like different helmets from other places, and you can 3D print them. But yeah, there's still alternatives for that. Yeah, like I said, I think that's just a difference of our opinions, Calcio. Like, you're not going to change my mind, and I'm not going to change yours. At least I don't believe so. Anywho, let's see. Is there anything else? Pretty much wrapped up. Which, again, thank you guys so much for the calls. I had a lot of cool, great people come in. It was awesome. And, yeah, I'm going to wrap up here. Again, screw it. We'll play it one more time. Why not? Yes, you. Do you like tabletop war games?
How did you get in my house?
Answer the question!
Yes! Yes!
And do you like grimdark sci-fi universes with sprawling lore?
Yeah?
Brilliant! Then please consider supporting the development of such a game called Warglaive Gothic, a grimdark sci-fi universe with Viking werewolves, vampires, driders, and grape-happy cannibalistic gnolls, all in space! Link to the Patreon page down below.
Is this an ad?
Yes! Alright, and again, I highly encourage you guys to check out the Patreon if you want to support a burgeoning tabletop war game and grimdark sci-fi universe, such as Warglaive Gothic. It's been my baby for a long time. There's a lot of work ahead of me with the project, and every little bit I can get for financial help to afford the softwares and everything I need to develop the models and put together all of the assets that will hopefully be available to you guys in the future. Also, on the Patreon, I'm going to be putting up every STL pack or set I finish as I go along, so you guys get early access to those if you have a 3D printer, and you can print out the models, and you can paint them up and have them ready for when the game is actually officially ready for its first edition launch. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for the great conversation about the 40k 10th edition and the Lion. Got to learn some things, got to express my own thoughts and hear other people's. It's always good. It's always great for community conversations. And yeah, have a good one. Love you guys. Take care.